What's that?
They called it a cult fantasy, until it sparked a legend that would span decades. Highlander wasn't just swords and immortals on screen. Behind the cameras, chaos and controversy threatened to undo the film at every turn.
Never lose your temper. If your head comes away from your neck.
From casting dilemmas to dangerous stunts, editing disasters, and studio interference, the making of Highlander was as epic as the battles on screen. How did Christopher Lambert land the role despite doubts? Which stunts nearly turned deadly? And what secrets about the immortals and their world did the filmmakers desperately try to hide? Get ready to uncover 20 shocking truths about Highlander that Hollywood never wanted you to know. Secret fact. 1. The casting chaos. Nobody knew about Highlander's casting process was anything but smooth. Studios rejected actor after actor, unsure if the audience could buy into a world of immortals. Christopher Lambert, a relative unknown, only made the cut after weeks of tense negotiations. Producers wanted someone with instant star power, someone who could sell immortality without a single believable sword fight. Lambert's French accent alone caused arguments on set, with studio execs fearing it would alienate American audiences. Yet director Russell Mulcahy pushed back, insisting Lambert had the intensity, vulnerability, and quiet charisma that could make Connor MacLeod a legend. Behind the cameras, agents were threatening to pull actors, contracts teetered on the edge, and casting assistants worked around the clock to keep the dream alive. The chaos wasn't public. Audiences never guessed how close the film came to collapsing before it even started shooting.
I'll tell you what happened, Russell. You went down to the garage for a blowjob. You just didn't want to pay for it.
Highlander almost didn't happen, but Lambert's fight to survive off-screen made him a legend on screen. Against all odds, immortality found its face. Secret fact 2. Christopher Lambert almost walked away. Even after being cast, Lambert almost quit Highlander. The script was unfinished, the fight choreography incomplete, and the studio's expectations were constantly shifting. On his first day of sword training, he realized how physically demanding the role would be. Hours of repetitive drills left him battered, and injuries stacked up quickly. Lambert began doubting whether he could survive filming without serious harm. But Mulcahy refused to recast. He saw something in Lambert that no stunt double or alternate actor could replicate. He promised the young star guidance, on-set training, and a path to mastering the sword. Eventually, Lambert stayed, but not without tension. He would clash with the stunt team, challenge the choreography, and fight to keep the sword fights looking authentic rather than cinematic fluff. That near departure set the tone. Highlander would be dangerous, grueling, and nothing like anyone expected.
Never overextend your thrust. You're vulnerable.
Lambert nearly walked, but surviving the grind forged the sword-wielding icon we remember. Pain, sweat, and defiance turned Highlander into legend. Secret fact. 3. The secret sword fights. That nearly killed the sword fights in Highlander were legendary, but behind the scenes, they were nightmare-inducing. Safety regulations were minimal, and Lambert, Connery, and the stunt team performed their choreography with real steel, not props. During one intense duel, Lambert nearly sliced a co-star's hand because the choreography was miscounted by fractions of a second. Another scene required Sean Connery to swing with precision while balancing on a stone ledge. One slip could have been fatal. Crew members recall the tension, the shouts, and the near-constant fear of injury. Even minor mistakes could ruin the day or hospitalize a cast member. The stunt coordinator worked tirelessly, yet every day on set, was a gamble. And somehow, the fights translated to breathtaking cinema. On screen, they looked seamless, heroic, and graceful. Off-screen, they were controlled chaos, a dance with death that audiences would never see or imagine. Every Highlander duel was a brush with disaster, yet on screen, it looked effortless. Real danger forged real legends. Secret fact: 4. Studio fights over the immortal story. Highlander's immortals weren't just fighting on screen, they were battling studio executives behind the scenes. The producers wanted a more straightforward story, with simpler characters and fewer philosophical undertones. Mulcahy fought to keep Connor MacLeod's tragic depth, the time-spanning romance, and the moral conflicts intact. Arguments raged over immortality rules, plot holes, and even the ending. The studio pushed for a happy, Hollywood-approved resolution, fearing audiences wouldn't understand a darker, more nuanced conclusion. Mulcahy resisted, insisting that Highlander needed mystery, grit, and emotional resonance. Every cut, rewrite, and late-night editing session became a battleground between creative vision and corporate pressure. The tension added an invisible weight to the production, infusing every scene with a sense of rebellion, as if the movie itself were a warrior fighting for survival.
Tonight you sleep in hell.
Highlander survived studio battles to keep its soul intact. Creativity won, and immortality wasn't just on screen. It was in every choice. Secret fact 5. Sean Connery's hidden struggles on set. Sean Connery may have been a cinematic legend, but on Highlander, he faced challenges no one expected. Though the studio wanted his gravitas to anchor the film, Connery struggled with the intense physical demands. Sword training exhausted him, and long shoots in harsh Scottish weather tested his endurance. Beyond the physical, Connery clashed with crew members over scheduling and fight choreography. He wanted certain sequences filmed differently, leading to tense standoffs with the director. Additionally, Connery was navigating union disputes and personal disagreements, all while maintaining the charm and authority that audiences expected from Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez. Despite these hidden struggles, Connery delivered an unforgettable performance, blending wit, mentorship, and combat skill. Few on set realized how much he was balancing, making his on-screen presence feel effortless. A master of both charm and swordsmanship, forged under hidden pressure.
Perhaps I gave her something you never could.
Connery's grace hid endless struggle, proving legends aren't born, they're forged. Every sword swing carried sweat, tension, and brilliance. Secret fact: 6. The lost script. Pages, Highlander's script was constantly evolving, but some pages vanished entirely. Key sequences detailing Connor MacLeod's backstory in the Scottish Highlands were handwritten and lost during a chaotic rewrite session. Cast and crew scrambled to improvise, trying to fill in gaps during filming. Lambert had to memorize lines on the fly, sometimes acting out scenes that didn't exist in the final draft. Mulcahy later admitted that this chaos forced creativity, giving certain moments an unplanned spontaneity that audiences never guessed was improvised. But at the time, tension ran high. Producers worried about continuity. Actors were confused, and shooting schedules slipped. Ironically, these lost pages contributed to Highlander's mystique, leaving gaps that fueled fan theories and debates for decades. What could have been a production disaster became a hidden strength, giving the film a dreamlike, unpredictable quality.
This is the house of God. People are trying to pray. You're disturbing them.
Lost pages nearly sank Highlander, but chaos became magic, turning gaps into legend. Mystery wasn't a flaw, it was a secret weapon. Secret fact 7. The Scottish Highlands were a battlefield. Filming in the Scottish Highlands was visually stunning, but deadly. Cast and crew endured freezing temperatures, driving rain, and treacherous terrain. Sword duels often took place on slippery rocks or uneven ground, forcing actors to balance and fight simultaneously. One stunt went horribly wrong when Lambert slipped mid-swing, narrowly missing a co-star. Crew members had to catch cameras and lighting equipment before it tumbled down cliffs. Equipment broke daily, tents collapsed, and transport routes were blocked by sudden storms. Despite the danger, Mulcahy refused to compromise on authenticity. Every drop of rain, every craggy cliffside added realism. The hardships bonded the team, creating a camaraderie that translated on screen. Highlander's iconic Highland scenes weren't just cinematic. They were forged in adversity, capturing both the beauty and peril of Connor MacLeod's homeland.
Playing endlessly.
You look like a woman, you stupid haggis.
Haggis? What is haggis?
The Highlands weren't just a backdrop, they were a battlefield, testing every step and swing. Danger sharpened every shot into cinematic gold. Secret fact 8. The Secret Highlander cameo. Few noticed a subtle cameo that almost didn't happen. A mysterious figure appears in the background of Connor's first duel as a nod to an early draft character, an immortal mentor cut from the final script. The cameo was filmed quietly, without the studio's knowledge, because execs had already deemed the character unnecessary. Mulcahy insisted the shot stay, arguing it added depth to Connor's journey and hinted at a larger immortal world. Only eagle-eyed fans have spotted the figure tucked into a shadowy corner of the frame. It's a fleeting, almost invisible detail that enriches Highlander's mythos, a secret breadcrumb of storytelling that foreshadows the sequels, proving that sometimes the smallest touches can carry the heaviest weight in a film's legacy.
Accepted.
A hidden cameo became a secret thread, linking the past and future. Fans had to squint to catch a glimpse of Highlander's hidden world. Secret fact 9. Fight choreography conflicts. The sword fights weren't just dangerous, they sparked near rebellions. Lambert wanted realistic movements, flowing and grounded in historical technique. The stunt coordinators, trained in cinematic exaggeration, clashed constantly with him over speed, flourish, and timing. Connery had his own vision, preferring elegance over aggression. Arguments escalated on set, with crew members caught in the middle. Rehearsals often stretched into the night, exhausting everyone involved. One fight sequence was shot 17 times before Mulcahy found the perfect balance between drama and realism. Behind the scenes, the tension was palpable. At one point, Lambert almost walked off set, frustrated with what he called fake heroics. Yet all this strife gave the sword fights an unmatched authenticity. Every strike carries weight. Every parry feels real. The drama off-camera translated into drama on-camera, turning Highlander's battles into cinematic moments that still thrill audiences decades later. Tension on set forged Highlander's duels into pure steel. Secret fact 10. The deleted training sequence. Highlander originally included a lengthy training montage showing Connor mastering the sword under Ramirez's guidance. Studio executives cut it, fearing it slowed the film's pace and seemed repetitive. But the sequence had layers fans would have loved. Lambert struggling with the sword, Connery's humorous corrections, and subtle philosophical lessons about immortality. The deletion caused frustration among cast and crew, who felt the montage gave emotional weight to Connor's growth. Though it never made it to theaters, the footage survives in scattered VHS and DVD extras, tantalizing fans with glimpses of what could have been. Ironically, cutting the scene made Highlander faster and more energetic, but it also created one of cinema's great lost sequences, a hidden secret that adds depth to Connor and Ramirez's bond, quietly leaving audiences to imagine the training that forged an immortal warrior. Highlander's training montage was cut, leaving Connor's growth a tantalizing lost sequence that fans still crave. Secret fact 11. Connor's accent controversy. Christopher Lambert's Scottish accent was a lightning rod from day one. Born in France, he struggled to nail the brogue convincingly. Dialect coaches were brought in, but Lambert often improvised or delivered lines in his natural voice when frustrated. Producers worried audiences would be distracted, but Mulcahy defended Lambert, claiming the accent gave Connor a unique, ethereal quality. Fans either loved it or mocked it, creating decades of debate about Connor's real voice. Ironically, what could have been seen as a flaw became part of Highlander's charm, making Connor feel like an outsider in every world he walked into. A perfect reflection of an immortal who belongs nowhere and everywhere at once. Lambert's uneven Scottish accent sparked debate, but became Highlander's signature charm, perfectly echoing Connor's outsider status. Secret fact 12. Sean Connery's secret input. Sir Sean Connery didn't just act, he shaped Highlander. Connery quietly rewrote portions of his dialogue, injecting humor, wisdom, and gravitas that weren't in the script. He also coached Lambert on movement, swordplay, and presence, giving Connor a depth that couldn't have been achieved otherwise. Connery's suggestions often clashed with Mulcahy and the writers, creating tension, but Lambert absorbed every lesson. On set, Connery's professionalism elevated everyone around him, yet studio notes rarely credited his input. In truth, Highlander's balance of charm, menace, and mentorship owes a massive debt to Connery's behind-the-scenes influence. Fans feel it in every scene between Ramirez and Connor, but few know the man behind the beard-sculpted half of Highlander's soul without asking for a single on-screen credit.
I've been alive for 4.5 centuries, and I cannot die.
Connery quietly shaped Highlander's soul, mentoring Lambert and rewriting dialogue, yet Hollywood barely credited his behind-the-scenes genius. Secret fact 13. The immortal effects gamble. Highlander's immortals needed visual effects, but the budget was tiny. Early attempts at glowing swords and mystical energy failed spectacularly. Sparks flew, smoke choked the set, and camera tests blew fuses. Mulcahy and the effects team improvised, using mirrors, clever lighting, and subtle camera angles to create the illusion of power. Lambert even had to act against invisible energy lines, slashing air while pretending sparks hit him. The most iconic quickening scenes were partly smoke, partly fan-blown debris, and partly actors flailing with conviction. Studio executives feared the film looked cheap, but the raw, inventive approach added an eerie, almost magical realism that CGI could never replicate. Highlander's mystical aura was born not from money, but from risk, creativity, and a touch of on-set chaos.
And so I would like a suit of clothes by 3 o'clock.
Low budget, high magic. Highlander's effects were sparks, smoke, and sheer imagination that made immortals feel real. Secret fact 14. The score almost didn't exist. Queen wasn't the original plan for Highlander's soundtrack. Early drafts had a traditional orchestral score, which producers thought would feel more serious. Director Mulcahy insisted on Queen, believing rock music could make immortals feel contemporary and timeless. But the band was skeptical. They had to compose new tracks under extreme time pressure. The deal nearly fell apart due to scheduling conflicts, threatening to leave the film without music. Thankfully, Queen delivered, and their songs, like Princes of the Universe, became inseparable from Highlander's identity. Without them, the movie might have felt like just another 1980s fantasy. Ironically, what was almost a logistical disaster became a defining element, proving that great music can transform a film into legend.
And I am immortal.
Queen almost walked, but their music immortalized Highlander, turning near disaster into cinematic legend. Secret fact. 15. The Paris shooting secrets. Highlander's Paris scenes are iconic, but filming them was chaos. Lambert and Connery battled crowds, traffic, and uncooperative weather. Many locations were shot guerrilla style, with minimal permits and quick setups to avoid fines. Onlookers often interfered, thinking the fight sequences were real brawls. At one point, Lambert chased a villain through the streets, nearly colliding with an actual car, while stunt crews scrambled to reset barriers. Mulcahy had to improvise shots constantly, capturing cinematic magic in the chaos. Crew members later admitted it was one of the most stressful parts of production, yet these challenges gave Highlander a living, breathing Paris full of grit and danger. What looks like a controlled fantasy was partly pure improvisation, blending the city's unpredictability with the story's immortal tension.
You're Connor MacLeod.
Maybe I am an...
You're Connor MacLeod, wounded in battle.
Paris almost broke them, but chaos forged cinematic magic. Highlander's streets never looked so alive. Secret fact 16. The sword training nightmare. Lambert and the stunt team spent weeks with swords, but the choreography was grueling. Early rehearsals led to minor injuries, bruised ribs, and cracked props. Lambert had no prior fencing experience, and Connery often had to demonstrate the moves himself. The team used weighted swords to simulate real blows, making even basic swings exhausting. Mulcahy demanded that every fight look deadly serious, not like stage fencing. Crew members later admitted they were terrified on set. One misstep could have seriously hurt an actor. Yet, this brutal preparation gave Highlander its visceral energy. Each clash feels authentic, because it was, in part, genuinely dangerous. The actors' sweat, struggle, and minor scars all translate on screen into the immortal duels that define the film.
You must learn to conceal your special gift and harness your power.
Real swords, real danger, real sweat. Every Highlander duel earned its cinematic edge. Secret fact 17. Lambert almost quit. Christopher Lambert came close to walking off the film. He clashed with the director over tone, fight scenes, and even dialogue. Frustration mounted during long, chaotic Paris shoots and repeated reshoots. Crew members recall tense moments where Lambert muttered about leaving the project entirely. Connery personally intervened, offering advice and reassurance, and the producers promised adjustments. Lambert stayed, but only barely, channeling his stress into the intensity of Connor MacLeod. That tension, almost a disaster, ended up giving Highlander its emotional edge, making Lambert's performance raw, vulnerable, and compelling. Fans see a confident immortal on screen, but behind the camera, it was a man pushed to his limits, teetering on the edge of quitting a film that would define his career.
Angus.
You better go, Connor.
Chaos nearly cost Highlander its star, but that pressure forged Connor MacLeod's unforgettable intensity. Secret fact. 18. The quickening almost cut. The quickening, Highlander's signature mystical energy effect, was nearly removed. Early test screenings confused audiences. Some found the glowing energy overwhelming or distracting. The studio pressured Mulcahy to cut or minimize it. He refused, arguing that the quickening was the soul of the immortal's story. The effects team doubled down, adding subtle light bursts, practical sparks, and sound cues to make it visually striking yet clear. In the end, the quickening not only survived, but became Highlander's most memorable cinematic moment. It visually communicates centuries of life, loss, and power, an essential heartbeat of the narrative. Had it been cut, the film would have lost its unique supernatural identity and much of its cult appeal.
There'll be no burning here today! We'll banish him!
The quickening nearly vanished, but keeping it turned Highlander into the mystical legend fans still worship today. Secret fact 19. Connery's hidden humor. Sir Sean Connery quietly improvised humor throughout Highlander, giving the film its unexpected levity. Many lines were unscripted. He'd wink at Lambert, add a sarcastic remark, or change phrasing on the fly. The crew often laughed during takes, but Mulcahy kept it in, believing the humor enriched Connor's mentorship of MacLeod. What audiences see as casual charm was actually Connery's spontaneous genius. Few knew he shaped Connor's personality as much with off-the-cuff lines as with his formal performance. Without Connery's subtle humor, the film might have felt heavier, less relatable, and lacked the charismatic mentor that elevated the story. Connery's improvisation didn't just add laughs, it forged the heart and soul of Highlander's mentor. Secret fact 20. The cult legacy. Highlander was not a box office juggernaut on release, but behind-the-scenes chaos, improvisation, and creative risks planted the seeds of its legendary status. Fans embraced Lambert's unique accent, Connery's charm, and the mystical quickening. Queen's music, Guerrilla Paris shoots, and intense swordplay became hallmarks of cult filmmaking. Secrets, conflicts, and improvised moments gave the movie a raw, authentic energy, elevating it beyond its 1980s fantasy budget. Today, Highlander isn't just a film. It's a cultural touchstone, inspiring sequels, series, comic books, and endless debate over immortals. Its legacy is proof that production chaos, behind-the-scenes drama, and daring choices can combine to create something timeless, proving, once again, there can be only one.
Hi, I'm Candy.
Highlander survived chaos, conflict, and near disaster to become immortal cinema. Its legacy proves that risks behind the scenes can forge legends. Highlander wasn't just a sword and immortals fantasy. It was a cinematic gamble filled with behind-the-scenes chaos, casting surprises and near misses that could have cut the film from legend to obscurity. From explosive stunts to controversial edits, the secrets behind its creation are as epic as the battles on screen. If these hidden truths about Highlander stunned you, share your favorite in the comments, and hit like and subscribe for more untold stories from the world of cult classics. Some immortal secrets were too wild to stay hidden.